Welcome to another episode of The More You Share, The More You Know. My name is Catherine Salazar, and I am the Instructional Technology Specialist at Education Service Center Region 19 in El Paso, Texas. Today, our episode will focus on the Project Share content repository. Specifically, we will focus on the New York Times content repository since they are a partner of Epsilon. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I always start off my show with the homepage called projectsharetexas.org. At the very top, you have your username and password box there. And if you're a first-time user, one of the things you'll want to do is check if you already have an existing account. That can be done by clicking on the Reactivate Account button or the link right under the boxes for your username and password. There, in that next link, you would just simply type in your work email address at your school district, and that will prompt you with further instructions about your username and password. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the system here, and I'm going to immediately focus your attention to the link on the left menu called the Content Repository. So I'm going to zoom into that real quick and click on Content Repository. And that reloads your screen, and it should look something like this. And there in the center or at the very bottom, you see in blue it says Open the Content Repository. So that's the next link that you'll have to click on here. It does open up a new tab for me or a new window for you depending on what system you're using. And this one is called the New York Times Knowledge Network Repository. Kind of has a long name, but definitely you want to make sure that you are here. And at the very top, you'll notice that you are under something called Build a Template. That always starts you off with your search capabilities. In the search box, I'm going to type something that I'm looking for one of my classes that I'm preparing for. In this case, maybe I want to learn more about Albert Einstein. And on the right side, after the search box, you'll notice something that says, do you want your results to be all results back from 1851? Or on the drop-down, you'll notice that you can definitely hone into something more current. So that's definitely your choice. One of the things I strongly caution you not to do is to do this search in front of your students for several reasons. Not that there's anything necessarily that would be kind of inappropriate for children, but it definitely would be it's a time-consuming process because remember, the New York Times, since 1851, will have thousands upon thousands of results. So you don't want to waste precious classroom time just on doing a search in front of your students. Now, if they have accounts and your district has allowed this option for your students, then of course in a computer lab setting, you're welcome to have your students search as well. But here in this case, I'm showing you as a teacher how you can prepare for a lesson ahead of time. So here I'm going to leave it on 1851, and then I'll click on Search. Now, while it's searching and loading the results, you'll have to know that the New York Times results are broken down into 3 categories. It will show you multimedia results, articles, and lesson plans. And the lesson plans, remember, are not necessarily tied to the Texas essential knowledge and skills, so you have to take those with a grain of salt and really analyze if they fit your curriculum. It is a national newspaper, so in that sense, just keep that in mind if you're looking at those lesson plan results. Now here, for the Albert Einstein results, you see that I have that first heading called Multimedia. And then if I scroll down, I should start seeing another heading. There it is, called Articles. And further down, if there are any associated lesson plans, you'll see there I have some lesson plans. Before I go into some of these results, I have to show you something at the very top of the screen. Since I've done my first search here, you'll notice that I have some blue tabs, and those were not there before. This first tab defaulted to the New York Times results, but I also have a choice to look at Texas PBS Learning Media, the CSIS 7 Revolutions, and it actually moves over with an arrow, and you'll see more and more content providers that are starting to partner with Project Share. They definitely don't have the same amount of information available yet, but I know that they're constantly updating that. And if I go further to the right with this arrow, the last one right now is actually NASA. So you'll know you've come to the end of all the results if you see that NASA tab. So I'm going to go back to the left, but I did have to point that out to you because you don't see those tabs until you've done your first initial search, which is something I think they should change, where you can choose ahead of time which resource that you're looking through. So right here is a great example of why you don't want to do this with your kids. For some reason, just because I wrote Albert Einstein, if you notice the first result there talks about pap tests failing. So again, not necessarily something inappropriate for students, but definitely not something you want to expose them to because it probably has nothing to do with what you're looking for. But the reason it pulled that up is because it has that Einstein tag to it as well. So I'm going to scroll down and focus kind of on the article section. Most of the results will have a red date of publication attached to it. And you'll see that a lot of them, even though Albert Einstein isn't currently around anymore, a lot of the results still mention 2012 because, again, just because somebody currently writes about him, it will definitely attach that article here in the search. I start seeing 1934. So here I'll click on one of those blue titles just to kind of see out of curiosity what it takes me to. Like this one, for instance, is a really nice example because what the New York Times is doing is starting to scan every article. So here I actually have a PDF of what was really publicized back then. And the only thing I have to say about these results on the iPad, it kind of restricts your result to like this one screenshot. But if I were doing this on a PC, on a laptop, I would get the option to save this PDF in its entirety, to print it, things like that. So I definitely recommend you viewing the New York Times content repository on kind of a PC or at least not on an iPad platform. I'm going to close this tab out. And let's say that I really want to save this result for the future and I don't want to look through thousands of articles. I just want a quick way to come back to certain articles for my students. That is something called the template tray. And what you have to do is basically, if you notice, there is a green circle with a plus sign next to each article result. And that is basically for you to indicate that it's your favorite or something to save in your templates. So I'm going to click on that plus sign next to that article. And it's reloading my page. And what it does is not only does it highlight that article in yellow to indicate to you that you've already selected it, but if I go to the top right of my screen, this box appeared that was kind of minimized before. And again, this is called your template tray. What it does is it puts that article or that multimedia item that you selected to the right side to save it. And you can keep adding here as much articles or as many articles as you need to. At the very end, if you notice right there in the center, it does have a Save As button where you can select that you're saving these results maybe for your second period social studies class, or this is for your tutoring group. You know, you can make as many templates there as you like. So here, I'm going to just click on Next because if you notice, this is page 1 of my results. And at the very top right corner, it said 14 multimedia results were found, but over 10,000 results were found for articles. So this search can definitely take you hours upon hours if you really dig deep into all the results. But I'm going to click on Next here just to show you how it takes you from one page of results to another. It does indicate that by saying page 2 there at the bottom. If I notice here, I'm going to find just one more article that I like. Let's see, I'll go to page 3 just to see if I can find another old article. And well, here's 1955. I think we'll take that one. So I'm just going to click on the plus sign there. And that will also add it to my template tray here on the right side. And it will highlight it in yellow again. So here you go. I have my template tray with the 2 articles. Last step that I need to take care of is that saving piece. So when I press Save As, these boxes right above that are editable really. So here I'm going to just title it Einstein Results. And I'm going to leave everything else blank and just click on Save. And the last step that I need to show you is next time that you log into your Project Share account and you come over here to this content repository, at the very top, remember how I mentioned that we were building our template? Well, now that it's saved, it would show under My Templates. So if I click at that top link, it will show only things that I've saved in the past. So here, I did the Einstein one, I did the Einstein results another day, and then I have 2 other ones called Online Courses and Twitter, because those are actual articles I'm currently using for some courses that I have online. So anybody that takes professional development courses with me, I have these articles tied to my course, and they can just read those articles that I have assigned to them. So that's definitely something I'll bring up in my next segment about courses. And this is where then you would just simply click on the blue title of that template. The articles that you have saved as part of it will appear. And again, the titles are hyperlinked to show you the actual articles that you wanted to save. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of how to use the content repository. Thanks again for tuning into our segment called The More You Share, The More You Know, and have a wonderful day.